Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and we're having our trunk coffee, and haven't really done a whole lot here lately. Uh, been in one of my moods, my depressed moods, and I decided today I was going to try to get out here and do something. So, as I showed in the one video about my parts washer that I'm building, uh, I had everything working, but I had a feeling that something wasn't going to work right. And it has to do with the drain on that sink. So we'll go over and show you what we got going on. So for starters, here's the sink, and I mounted my tank underneath here, and I mounted it to where this would be directly center to the hole where I'm going to have my drain. And then I got my fuel pump right there that's going to pump diesel fuel, and I'm not real sure I like that diesel fuel. It don't cut shit. So we're probably going to have to rethink what we're going to use for our fluid. But the problem that we have is this. I don't know what they had mounted here, but this is actually factory, because these are actually countersunk, and this porcelain was actually poured and was in this countersinks. So I don't know what was actually used in here, but this was a specialty drain that you have to get for this particular sink. So the porcelain's all busted up in some places, and I tried putting silicone around these screw heads before I put them in, and then I put silicone around here, RTV gasket maker, and then I used this as my drain, and this is the part that went into the tank. I just took a line off of a kitchen sink, the supply line, and made it so that this would slide down in that hole in the tank and be a press fit. So this was working. Then this here went down in there, and you can see where I took it back out, and this screwed up on it and held it, and I had a big washer on it with gaskets and stuff. But this part never leaked. It's this part that leaks. I can't get it to seal. So we decided another route. So let's go to the bench and I'll show you what I made. All right then. This is the first piece I made, and this thing, I had already made this piece because I was thinking about replacing this with this, and then I was going to drill holes in it. But then I decided this was the better route, and I'd like for this to be used, but I can't. So I got a drain screen for something. So I went and put this on the lathe and laid that down, and I didn't get it. It was kind of bent on one side a little bit further than the other, so this side's a little wider than this, but it don't matter. I just wanted to get it down thinner so that it wouldn't be sticking up so bad. But I made this, and this was the biggest piece I had. I didn't turn anything on the outside, and I barely had enough lip that this here will just slide right through it. So I had to make a smaller washer that just goes on there, and that lip holds it. So yes, we'll have to put silicone in between this, silicone between this, and I did make a rubber gasket to go on it. And we're going to use this. This washer here is just to keep it from going through this. So we'll put this on there just like that, and then that'll go down in there like that. Now it is a little high, but that's okay. This here will actually trap big particles and not go down in the hole, because I really don't want no big particles going down in my tank. So, you know, as long as I police my sink and keep it clean, I don't ever have to worry about that. Anything big will trap right here, because the flow's not that far or hard going down in that hole. So then I made this gasket that I was going to use, but I think I'm going to use this one instead, because this one here can hinder me. Because if this needs to press down further when you go to compress it, then it's going to be the same distance all the way around it, and could cause a wrinkle on this to where it could cause a leak. So this here is on the outer edge, so when this goes to pull in a spring action where it's sprung down, it'll push all the way around this edge, and you have all this to allow you to go in deeper. So then I made this gasket to go on. And then I got this washer that goes on the bottom. And then I made this for my air guns. It's a nut that I used, the spanner nut, for buffer tubes. So I threaded this the same size as this. And then I can just use a spanner wrench to tighten that up and get my tension against the rubber O-ring. We're hoping this will work, and this will bypass them screws, so no fluid will get to the screws if this works. If it don't work, I guess you're going to hear me cussing. So let's take this over to the parts washer, get my silicone or my RTV gasket maker, and let's see how this works. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is go ahead and put silicone on all this. I got that gasket a little too tight, but oh well. So we'll go ahead and put some of this black RTV gasket maker on it. And I haven't used this in a couple weeks, and I opened it up and I can still get it out. I'm like, wow, really? Got first. So we're just gonna put a little thin skim around that, and we'll just kind of do that. We're gonna have to clean all that off after we're done anyway. So then we'll put some on the back side of this washer. And we'll smear that on. I mean, this is extreme, but you know, I don't want this thing leaking all over my wood down there. That wood come off my grandma's front porch. We don't want to be messing that up. So now I need something to lay that on, because I don't want that silicone in there. So we'll just stick that down in there like that. There we go. Alright. So now we can go ahead and put these two together. And I've got a chamfer on this one side. And then we'll put our gasket on it. And this is going to be a messy job because I've got the gasket way too tight. So I'm going to get silicone all over me. So we'll just go ahead and put that down on there. And I'm sorry it's so dark over here. I need to get more light over here in this corner. So we'll just take and press that up against there. And then We'll put a little bit more silicone on this. And smear it out nice and flat, making sure to get up in the corner. And it don't matter if you get any everywhere, you're going to be cleaning it off after you're done anyway. So now that part is ready to go on. So now we're going to take and put a little bit on this, just on the outside. And we'll smear it out too. This is going to act as a glue also to glue the gasket to it so it don't move. Now we'll take our gasket, put it on, and hope that this gasket will stay in there. Now, most of the reason why I'm using gasket maker on this is because this gasket's got a couple cracks in it. So now we'll put a little bit more on the other side. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but I don't want this thing leaking. So we'll just go ahead and smear that around. A messy job, I can tell you that. Alright, so now we can go ahead and set this in place and center it up on the existing hole that's already there. And let me get another rag. And then we'll drop this down in there, just like so. So now, we shouldn't have to put no sealant on the bottom, simply because nothing should be getting past this, this, and this. So if that works out like we think, we don't have to put no seal on the bottom of it. But we're going to put a gasket on it just for cushion purposes. So we don't need to put no silicone on that from cap. If anybody else has problems with these things drying up on them before you get to use them all, let me know. Alright, so now I'll go underneath and we'll put the nut on it, and the washer, and the gasket. Now on the bottom of this, now that's as tight as I can get it. I need to actually cut these bolts off, but I'm scared to cut it off with this diesel fuel in here, so I'm not going to do that. I'll probably end up having to use a hacksaw, but I should have cut them off a long time ago and I didn't do it. So on the bottom of this piece that I made, I turned or drilled a hole in it and tapped it for 14 millimeter 1.0 thread, and it just so happened to be the same thread that was on a gun barrel that when I was making the barrel for the Defender, I had some extra barrel left, and this is rifled, so the fluid will go in there and spin. But anyway, I'm going to put some RTV gasket maker on these threads, and I'm going to thread it into the top of, or the bottom of that, and it's going to go down in this hole. So I probably should have done that first. I should have done that first. Hell. I should have done that first, damn it. Alright, so I'm going to have to cut this shorter. Either that or take these bolts loose and tilt the, let me do that. I'm going to loosen these bolts and tilt that so I can get that in there. But this is just going to go down in that hole and drain. So it's just going to, it's not sealed or nothing. It doesn't have to be. Because it's not going to put more in it than it's going to take out. So this tank will never overflow. So, but anyway, let me get this in and thread it up in there. Now we can't test this right yet. I want to give it some time for that stuff to dry nice and cured before I go putting it in use, because putting fluid against that uncured silicone can cause it to destroy, and then it'll create a leak. So we're not going to do that. So we'll be back when it's ready to test it out. I think it looks pretty decent. It's got a little height to it. It's got a little step down right here, and that's only because of the gasket, which is, I probably could have made a thinner gasket and put out here on the edge, but I kind of wanted this thing here to squeeze down into the edge of those thread holes so that it will seal that too. So once we get once this cures, we'll be back to test it. So stay tuned. Alright guys, I think it's time to test this thing out and see how she works. I want to get all the dirt out of it. For some reason I got aluminum shavings in there. We don't want that down in the pump. Alright, so now we get to go up here and turn it on. Now see, there's always going to be a puddle there, that deep. So I'm always going to have to dry that before I'm done. So well, for some reason my voltage regulator, or my voltage, won't go up to 12 volt. The lights are draining on it. I might have to run two separate power supplies for the light and the pump, because with the light off I can't get more than 8.91 volts. As soon as I turn it off, the light the pump starts pumping like it's supposed to, and I'm at 13 volts. So I'm probably going to have to run a separate power supply for the lights, or get a different light system to put on this. I may have to make a light for it. I don't know. But we'll see. But anyway, that's not what this is all about. We want to see if this thing's going to be draining like it's supposed to. So let's look under here and see. Now, if I don't want that to run as hard, I can always reach up here and turn that down a little bit. So the car will run around between 13 and 14 volts while running. And I forgot to dry it off. This is still, sorry about that, guys. Let me get some light in here. Boy, this is just aggravating trying to get things to work for you guys. This here's from where it leaked before. But it's not leaking around anything, so I think that'll work. So, and it's got pretty good draw to it. So let me turn the light or the pump off, turn the light on. So you can't run both of them at the same time on that little piece of junk. It's saying regulated. Well, if it's regulated, why ain't it regulating? So we know that ain't true. So now, when I'm done with my days of cleaning, I'll wait until that drains completely down to where it's flat against the top of this spout. And then I'll just take a rag or something and lay on it. I'll lay that one right there on it, and that'll soak it up somewhat. And then I can just lay a dry one there. Next. It started raining, so now I got water coming in the shop right there. So I'm gonna try to find me a dry rag and put in there. I really wish I could have got it a little lower, but there really ain't a whole lot I could do about it. So I'm just going to take that rag right there and set it there. Clean all that off when I'm done with my cleaning process. That way there's nothing laying on that silicone and deforming it. Then we'll get our dry rag here in this cluster screw up of a bench and just dry it out. That ain't that big a deal. But like I said, because of what I've got, you know, it costs too much to get one of these sinks. They're over $100 for a sink this size. And this was free. It was given to me, and that made it sentimental value to me. So I wanted to get this to work and use it. Yes, it's heavy. It's not going to be moving around a lot. So there is the build. Let's look under here one more time, see if we got anything leaking. We do not. Still dry as a bone. So there it is. The parts washer, done. as far as I'm going to do anyways. Let me put you all back on the tripod. I'm trying to think of some things that I can do. If y'all got any bright ideas about a project you'd like to see me try, make it reasonable, guys. I'm an old man. But let me know if there's something you'd like to see me make for the Grizzly GO758 mill, or the Logan lathe, or whatever. Drill press. I'd like to make a set of soft jaws for my vise, but I ain't got the material for all that. So that will conclude the parts washer. And I just found out that because I wasn't running the light and the pump at the same time when I was testing it, and I just realized that I don't think that's going to work. That's probably going to be too much for that power supply. So I'm going to have to separate it and put another power supply on it somewhere, and go from there. I need a bigger power supply, a nicer one. I don't know how many amps that one puts out, but I bet you it ain't much. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think of that repair and fix around or work around. You guys have a good one. Later.